Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to My Black Has a purposeful conversations. This evening we have with us a special guest, Mrs. Donna Doleman Dickerson. We are so excited. We have an important and vital moderator because she will be doing all the talking, not I or Takara.
Not tonight.
Natasha Walker-Jones of House of David. Happy Women's History Month. We are so glad you all are here. You're tuned in. Of course, you know, My Black Has a Purpose. We are focused on building purpose power. You know, we want to engage you in purpose power. We want to help you grow in purpose power. Women, we can do this. Men, we can do this too, but the organization right now is filled with the capacity of a lot of women. So it's excellent that it's Women's History Month. We want to go right into the conversation. I want to introduce Natasha Walker-Jones, of course, and then we have the founder of My Black Has a Purpose, Takara Hemingway. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Dickerson, for being here with us. Natasha, I'll turn this mic over to you.
Well, before we start, I think I'm getting a little feedback. Before we start, I want to make sure we acknowledge My Black Has a Purpose and its inaugural year from 2020 and the beautiful strides you all made in Columbus, Georgia, helping to put us over the finish line in the election. I think it was monumental, not just for our community, but for African-American women. I think we are finally at an impasse. Y'all, as we say in the South, we have worked so hard. We were told by our mothers, if we go to school and we achieve academically, there was nothing we couldn't do. We've always been told that. Before there was Michelle Obama, I would say even before there was Oprah Winfrey, most of us had very strong African-American mothers, grandmothers in the South who might not have had the opportunities we had, but they pushed us. And for such a time as this, now we are here in the midst of this revolution, if you would, among African-American women. So Takara, first, I want to allow you to just tell us a little bit about My Black Has a Purpose, how you got started, and then we'll get into our conversation with Mrs. Dickerson and find out how important marketing is in this moment of mass media that has essentially shifted, I would say in this century, to a handheld device, and how important it is for us to put our best branding foot forward to attract the right kind of attention so that we can essentially get the traction we need to get our products and our services out there. So first, let's talk a little bit about how My Black Has a Purpose came to be and what you all experienced in your first couple of months and the marketing approaches you took to actually weave your way in front of the camera, even in front of Stacey Abrams herself, the call.
So first of all, thank you both you ladies for being here tonight. My Black Has a Purpose, first of all, would be nothing without women like yourself and the rest of the community pushing this, what we don't call is a moment, but a movement. And, you know, My Black Has a Purpose was started last year in May, actually after the death of George Floyd, which incited or just sparked this thought of, you know, we need another movement. We need a movement. Yes, Black lives matter, but how do they matter if they don't matter to Black people? You know, how do we get others to believe that we matter? We first have to believe in ourselves and believe that we have a purpose and stop, you know, beating each other down and lift each other up, empower one another. And especially women, we have to learn how to fix each other's crowns without letting them know they were crooked in the first place. So that's essentially where My Black Has a Purpose. I was in my room and I know a lot of people know the story basically. And I was just upset. And I said, Lord, they killed this man like he had no purpose. And I said, you know, my Black has a whole purpose. And I was like, oh, God, that's it. My Black got a purpose. You know, and from there, I went on to help organize one of the largest marches in Columbus, Georgia that happened in June. And then from there, we just kind of took off doing all kind of different things, events, helping with fires, putting together rallies, and like you said, just partnering with several different organizations to get the vote out and turn Georgia blue. As far as marketing, I think Miss Z over here actually probably could answer those questions a little bit more because she has been the most awesome PR and marketing person we have with My Black Has a Purpose. And she's been instrumental to this organization as far as like getting the word out and just helping us to stay relevant in this time. So
we're just walking in purpose. We're actually here to workshop tonight. I have my notepad out, the iPad, the MacBook. I'm just trying to deep dive with Ms. Dickerson.
So, but yeah, My Black Has a Purpose. Like she said earlier, we're about building and growing purpose, especially in our youth. And we just have such a heart and a passion for the youth. And we need women like yourself, Miss Jones, Lord, and Miss Dickerson, who are inspirations and can show these young ladies that there's more to life than twerking and showing your body. And I mean, I just have to be real because that's who I am, or being a baby mama, it's more to life, and that does not define your purpose. So again, I'm so thankful to have you all on this call tonight. I don't want to talk too long. And I do want to give it back to you, Tasha, and you go ahead and get started with Ms. Dickerson so we can give her some talk time, because I'm very, very interested to hear about what she has to say. And just reading up on your past and your history and your bio, and I'm just extremely inspired and impressed. And I'm like, my God, I noticed that you had a bachelor's in science and health administration. So that right there immediately interests me, with my background being medical as well. I have a master's and I'm a nurse practitioner. So that would be my first question to you, Tasha, if you don't mind. Yeah, that would be my first question to you, Miss Dickerson. If you can introduce yourself, and then if you could just tell us a little bit how you got from, healthcare to marketing.
Well, I hear an echo. Can you guys hear me all right?
I'm going to mute out. Hold on one second.
Okay. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your passion and your vision, and you guys just doing this work. I mean, a year. It's only been a year, right? Less than a year, and you've already jump-started a company and a movement and a mission and all of that. So just hats off. Just let's pause right there and just that's awesome. That is no simple accomplishment. That's a huge feat to just step out there. So I just have to acknowledge that. But thank you for inviting me. And I don't know what I have to share. Let me just tell you, I grew up in Columbus, Georgia. And I always say, I sit here on the shoulders of my parents and my strong grandmothers and that women's sister circle, sorors, aunts, sister friends. All of that love has just brought me to this place. So I just have to acknowledge that first, right? Okay. But I have to tell you just a quick on the journey to healthcare. My mom is a nurse, and I say is, not retired, because she will never retire. 50 plus years in nursing, and she's always a nurse. And then my dad is a physical therapist and still practicing today after 50 plus years. And growing up with them, growing up in a house of healthcare providers, how could I not be impacted by healthcare? But I knew early on that I didn't have that clinical gift. I was a little squeamish and such. But I had that business acumen. And unlike most of my friends, after school, I would go to my dad's job and volunteer at the nursing home. And I grew up all through my schooling, since the age of 10 till the time I graduated from high school, as a volunteer working in the nursing home. So my best friends were 85. And so I learned, I literally had my birthday party there. So I learned early on what, look at my dog over there, he's distracting me. But I learned early on what work was, what passion was, and how I, just connection, having meaning behind work. And what, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just not going to a job. I had to have some connection to what I was doing every day. And it came from that experience as a 10-year-old through, my up until high school. So I determined, I know I'm not going to be anything healthcare related in the clinical sense, but I do have this business acumen. I like to run things. I like to organize things. I knew that at an early age. I had, and I knew about this career choice of healthcare management. And Florida A&M University had a program, and I did some research, and that's how I determined my next step. And so when I think about my journey, I had a plan. And that from then until now, have things gone all the way through my plan? No. But another thing I'll tell you, and I'll just stop right here. No, another pause and acknowledge God had a plan, and he has a plan. And that one of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah 29:11. And it talks about, God has plans or good plans, and they give you hope for an expected end. And so while I might have my plans, and it's good that we need a plan, but know that God's got your plan. And so working your plan with God guiding you through would be just how I have really walked this thing out. So, and I will say, I started out, so I did. So I got the healthcare management degree. And then I went on to get a business degree, an MBA in Buffalo. And then I had several jobs. And what I learned in those several jobs, yes, I did start in healthcare. But each opportunity, I honed a marketing skill. Each of those jobs had components of marketing. And I realized they're all different industries. So from working as the lead marketer at Pfizer, promoting drugs like Lipitor, to what I'm doing now in promoting financial wellness. So I would say I promoted Lipitor to the world, then I promoted Ann Arbor as a tech hub to the world, and I'm promoting financial wellness to the world. And so, I just have that marketing passion. I can just pretty much, market anything that I'm passionate about.
Wow.
And so about what I'll say here is transferable skills, and recognizing that what you learn in one place can be applied in another place.
Right.
And it's, so I'll just stop there. That was one question. I don't want to go too far.
So I think it's really interesting that you, rather than say, I had this plan and it wasn't to be in marketing at Pfizer, or it wasn't to be in marketing at GreenPath, I think having that flexibility opened doors. So talk a little bit about how important it is for us to make a plan and be ready to shift when God says, here's the door, walk through it.
You know what I would say to that is, at each opportunity, I work my butt off. Hard work, setting a high bar and high expectations for myself, right? One of the things that a pet peeve of mine that you could observe in people that you might work with or work over the years that you might, work for or work with or whatever, is the that'll do mentality. Oh, that'll do that. That'll do. It'll be good enough. That'll do mentality. That is one of my pet peeves. And so it's really about excellence and setting a high bar. And so I would take that mentality and really apply it to each of those opportunities. And the net result of that with promotions, and it led to the next opportunity. So I really would say hard work. And I can tell you, not to be prideful or anything, really in my most humble way, that each of those opportunities came to me by a tapped shoulder. And that's why I say that God has the plan, because each opportunity, I didn't go out sending out, tons of resumes to get through those different opportunities. Those all came to me. And I know that it was God's grace and hard work.
How do you know when it's time to go? Clearly you're doing well, and someone taps your shoulder. They tap your shoulder because you were doing well. How do you know I have reached an impasse and it's time for me to move on? And how do you do it with finesse so that you don't burn bridges or leave at a time when perhaps you're at your peak and the company is enjoying that wave as well?
That's good, Tasha.
That's a great question, and have had to answer that and act on that a few times, as you can imagine. I have to check my spirit. I really, just real talk, and it will never lie. It will never lie to you if you listen to it. Just really checking your gut, really reflecting on what you want, that plan, like where do you see? So if you do get tapped for an opportunity, check your plan and then check your spirit. Because if it doesn't line up with it, you're going to feel agitated and you're not going to feel peace. And one of the things that I have always heard, one of the pastors that I really respect, he talks about follow peace. And you just get a peace when you know it's the right move. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard to describe, but it's just a piece. But you check it, but you look at your plan, that plan that we talked about, right? Like, does it really line up? If 5 to 10 years, here's what I want to do. If this opportunity comes, does that really fit in that puzzle that you kind of established, or is it just kind of out there? Now, if you look back at my list of things, I couldn't have put all that together. But each thing kind of was a foundation for the next thing.
So you're working in healthcare, and at every junction, the opportunity to also do marketing work just appears. It continues to come, almost as if the universe is winking, and kind of pulling you in a direction to build on that. And it becomes you become the go-to person in certain industries. Speak on that a little bit.
Well, I would say marketing was pulling on me, but one thing that was consistent in each of those opportunities was blank sheet of paper. I was tapped for opportunities where stuff wasn't figured out. So each role was a new role, an inaugural role. We haven't figured out what we want. Here's kind of the vision, but can you figure it out? And that was the thing that I kind of honed and just got really good at. Just creating, people say, you got a manual and you look at tab 2 and 3 and 4. Well, my strength, my superpower is creating the manual, right? There's no manual there yet, just creating it. And what is that manual? For me, I think I was able to hone a skill that, and if you guys haven't gotten Strength Finder, have you seen Strength Finder as a tool?
No.
Get up, Strength Finder. Just if you don't hear anything that I say today, the big thing is knowing your strengths and knowing your superpowers. What are you naturally good at? What are you passionate about? Just naturally wired to do, and that's my zone. It's called, in Strength Finder, it's called individualization. Wow. And it means it's a gift where you can look at individual talents and gifts in people and put it all together and create this magic. So that means I can build teams from nothing. And so that when I reflect, that's what I was doing in each of those roles, building teams and creating a plan to achieve the business objectives. And so
when you think about who you are, because I hear so many dynamic things, and then we know that the academic piece lays that foundation to give you that versatility. I mean, we go to college, we don't want to study history because we're not going to law school. We're not interested in economics because that's not our arena. But all of those layers build you up to become a person who is diverse enough to shift gears when needed. And in your case, lay out the plan, create a blueprint. What do you think in terms of upbringing? Whose acumen and skills are you pulling from, mom or dad? Who's analytical, and in which capacity did they contribute to the working parts of you?
Oh my gosh, how do I answer that?
Without getting in trouble.
Wow, and I always said, take the good and the bad, take the good from both of us. I would say, I would have to say a combo, because, I think what is that skill? It's, you just said it, the ability to just kind of adjust, adaptability.
Mm-hmm. She said shift,
adaptability, agility in business right now. What? Given COVID last year, right? Like I had to totally pivot my team to be thinking, right, on another path, right? And to adjust to the marketplace. I would just say, I don't know, how do you learn that in school? I'm just trying to pinpoint. I don't really have a good example growing up. I would have to say just both my parents, just my upbringing. My family will say I was a plan A kind of person. I got the plan. This is my plan. And when it wouldn't go my way, the A, I would get frustrated. And I think that them coaching me to say, you got to have a plan B. You got to be able to function if plan A doesn't work. That was something that they talked to me about all the time. And that, now that you said it, that shows up that I'm able to pivot and be agile, right? And lead a team along a path that can adjust to crazy marketplace dynamics and do it just on a dime.
Right.
You don't even realize you're doing it. It's just, it turns out where it's just instinctual.
You know what I would say, and I would suggest some of that is just plain old black girl magic.
Come on now.
I mean, they say the best laid plans of mice and men sometimes go awry. That is so true. Everyone faces certain eventualities, consequences, issues, and problems just by virtue of being a human being. And then the chocolate puts us in circumstances sometimes that are unexpected and not the norm for everyone. We learn how to rise to the occasion. Maya Angelou said it best, still I rise. So we're in COVID and marketing approaches have changed. People are on screen more than ever. The commercials in between my favorite YouTube comedians have increased, and I am familiar with it, right? So everybody figured out we got to make a shift.
Right.
Who didn't make the shift didn't, kind of got lost in the shuffle. So from a marketing aspect, if a person is listening in, they have a business or they're working in nonprofit, there are many avenues to advertise. So Instagram is free and it's becoming like a cesspool. I mean, you're scrolling through and instead of seeing all the fun memes, now everybody's selling you something, right. and to a certain extent, it's really good that people are using these tools. So Donna, how do we stand out? How do I push what I'm doing to the top and not get caught up in the fray because it's just coming at you from every direction? How do you separate that product or that service and get it into a frame of visibility so that you can get some traction in this highly competitive environment where everybody's on IG?
Yes. I need my pen and paper for this one.
Well, I go back to those strengths. You got to understand, what does your business do that the other one doesn't do, right? What's your value proposition?
Value proposition.
What is your value prop? What do you bring to the table that's meeting a need and meeting a pain point? What's your solution and why is your solution better? Like, you got to do, when I talk about the strengths, do the work finding your strengths, personally. That's that plan. Then on your marketing plan, do the work to understand your value proposition. What are you selling, product or service that is solving what pain point, and why is yours so much better? Why is it better? And then you gotta, so then you have to understand who needs it. Who's your market? Because you're not selling to everybody, right?
Right.
You have to have a target market. Who cares? Who's gonna listen? Who needs it? And then hone in on that. A lot of times marketers in marketing, people try to go after the whole, what we call addressable market or whole market, but you have an addressable market. You got to hone in on who really needs your product, service, or solution. And then you got to understand if there's some competition. So marketing isn't just marketing. It encompasses so many other things. I'm going to research, listen. Like the other thing that's just so simple that people don't do is listen. And what is listen? Listen is research. So once you find out who needs your service or product, you got to listen to what they need. And I can tell you what they need today is different than what they needed last year, because the market has changed, the environment has changed. So you got to check in again. So that's one of the things we did research to say, what are people feeling right now? Last year, this is what they were feeling. What are they feeling now? So we know now, some people are looking for buying homes and they're looking for counseling. We provide financial counseling, one-on-one financial counseling on the phone right now that it's COVID. We do have 60 locations, and we were doing that in person across the country. But now we're doing it all on the phone. People are managing their money, their student loan debt, their credit card debt. Some people are taking forbearances. They're dealing with a lot more than they were dealing 12 months ago. So if we had the same marketing plan that we had last year today, that would be dumb, right? That would not be listening to our customers. So we had to pivot and adjust our marketing strategy to hone in on things like, one of the big things right now is loss of income. A lot of people have lost income since COVID started. People are trying to figure out how to get their stimulus check, and if they figure out how to get it, what to do with it, right? How can they manage that money? Just lots of decisions people are faced right now that weren't before. So as the marketing team, we're creating content that's appealing to people now. If we just had the same old stuff we were doing last year, we'd be missing it. So when you think about cutting through the clutter, it's really about understanding where you're strong, where your value is, what compared to your competitor, how you're showing up, and then listening to what the needs are and addressing those needs. And for now, empathy is a big, so many times, it's a big buzzword in business, but my company, we put our money where our mouth is. We literally have had an empathy coach on staff for the last 5 years, where she's helping all of our team craft content that's steeped in authenticity, that's going to help people. The people on the phone, she coaches them on word tracks and, not using those trigger words that might tear people down, right? Instead of building them up. That's just empathy. Empathy. How long has empathy been around?
Right.
These are seeing that it's a value.
We need that in the healthcare field.
Right.
Definitely.
I like that. I think about emotional intelligence when I hear you say that.
Yes.
That everybody's so smart, so book smart, but then people lack the compassion and that emotional component that allows them to actually connect with people. And isn't it interesting, at a time when we are told to get as far away from people, the way to get them to pull the money out of their purses is to actually connect to them in some way that's not tangible, but it works.
That is so profound.
It's that deep. You just gave it to it. You just said it. You
I
just
didn't
said
that
it.
way.
Yeah, you just said it. And so
The way you just wrapped it up in a bow. I love the way you said that.
Yeah, that's good.
so well, you're like you were coaching me. So we're reaching past the screen to their heart.
That's
basically.
right. Yeah.
Right. So how do you put together a team of people, especially when Bobby over there is typically the type who comes to the office, he wants to huddle to himself. And then, Lisa spends 2 hours drinking coffee. And now you really have to have like a almost like a total spin about to get people on the same point and on the same page, when at the office we've been working very compartmentalized. But now that we're having to face the world differently, I mean, everything we do now is open to the world. Right now, we might have 30 people actually listening in, but if it stays up between now and 1 week, 1 million people could have watched this.
Right.
Everybody sees everything.
That's
So
right.
Mama told me not to ever leave the house without makeup and curlers in your hair. That was Mama's marketing.
That's right.
Was marketing.
That's right.
So we're assessing, and in the public health arena where I've worked, we call it a needs assessment. We ascertain what the needs are, and we shift to meet the needs. Now, in the nonprofit arena, and I'm going to say it the way we call it, when we see organizations shifting to go after the money, we call them grant whores. Oh, you're not really focusing in on what you're supposed to be doing. You're just moving this way and that way to get the money. But the reality is, if you don't nip and tuck, you're going to be left without that viable plastic surgery that you need to
Come on now.
face forward. So let's look at the NBA, for example. They couldn't go into the building, but somebody had a good marketing plan. Let's keep people in the stand online. Let me some of those really, maybe 1 or 2 quick points about what was different a year ago and what is different now. We know this virtual meeting that we're having, more than likely, this might not have even been in your schedule, because when you move about, you use up so much time in the day, you can't do, I would say, vanity conversations like we're having right now. So it has given us a little more time, but in other regards, we've had to nip and tuck in other places. Just tell us, what are we doing now to meet that need in those regards? What are the things we should be doing?
Yeah, what I'll say though, I'll just share kind of what the approach we've taken. I described what our company does, and we're on the phone. We talk to a couple thousand people a day. Some people are managing those things that I just described. I mean, really living, tough life decisions. And so we're asking our team of 500 employees across the country to be on the phone and answer those calls. But what about them? How are they feeling? How are they managing the pandemic? Because they're teacher, parent, pet caregiver, cook, all of that right now. So how are they doing their job? So one of the things that companies really need to do is really check in with their own employees and be more intentional about the empathy and caring for their employees, the emotional needs, and connecting with their needs. One of the things we did, I'll just share on our team, we do, to your point, we normally would have coffee together in the morning, walk in or whatever. Hey, how you doing? How was your weekend? We don't have those connection points anymore. So one of the things that one of my team members asked, can we just do morning coffee, 15 minutes? We don't talk about work. We can't talk about work. Let's just connect and just chit chat.
That's good.
That started last March, and it's continued to, a whole year. We have those check-ins, just human check-ins. And I believe that we need team connection and development time. So I did a lot of team development, like where we spend 2 hours on just team developing. What's your strength? A lot of the strength work We all have done our Strength Finder assessment, and we're sharing with each other what our strengths are, because Johnny might be strong in here and Judy might be strong in there. And why does Judy do it that way? Because I can't stand when she does it that way. But now we understand how Judy is naturally wired, and she does it that way because that's how she's naturally wired. And so there's a level of understanding, so we can work together. We know, okay, Donna, those are her superpowers. That's why she said that. Like, people can interact with you on another level once they understand the why and the who you really are.
Right.
If you're like, right now, this is how I've interacted with my staff for the last year, just in this, right? In this piece, this equipment. And so you've got to figure out a way to connect on some human levels. And then other thing is, we just this past Friday, we just had a Mardi Gras celebration, a 2-hour Zoom where we had the most fun. You know, I had a couple of the employees, they would plan the party, and I laughed in that 2 hours more than I'd laughed the whole week. Just connection, you know, and that they appreciate that time. We're not doing work. We're not, seeing, doing marketing plans. We are just connecting as people, and those kinds of things, because normally we would have had, some connection time. So building that stuff in right now, we have to do it. And I talk to my colleagues all over the country, just outside of my company, just industry wise. That is the major challenge right now, is just Zoom fatigue and connecting with teams and getting your work done, and home is work and work is home. And just, that all of that is real.
So we know that you do this all day long, so it is draining. We're going to sort of just shift just a little bit. And I want to bring in a conversation piece that has been the hallmark for this year, and that is Vice President Kamala Harris, who, just by virtue of where she has risen, it has given African American women the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
So if we ever wanted 15 minutes of fame, this is your moment. If you got a good plan, you've been working on something in business, this is your moment. Do you feel that, Donna? Do you feel that thing in the air where you turn on commercials and brown sugar baby is everywhere? they know, not only they've always known that we had the buying power, but that doesn't always translate positively for us if we're spending so much. But now there is a political aspect that's making people hone in to African American in a very different way. So let me say it like this. Why is now not the time to go to the grocery store in your rollers? All eyes are on us.
That, I tell you one thing, I could never do that growing up. That was my dad.
Exactly. Right. My mother had a word for it, uncouth. That was her thing. No, that is uncouth. House shoes, no ma'am. No, you put on clothes. Out of the question. So we are front and center. And as a result, people are doing all kinds of things. There are two extremes I see in our community. And I just want a real talk for the young ladies who are coming up and they see these images. We've got the images of let's take everything off because all eyes are on us. And then there's this other place where we got a sister in the White House. Those are two very polarizing places. And I don't want to be a judgmental person, but I'm in it for the long haul. So I need to know, what should our young African-American women be striving for that will give them longevity and not 15 minutes of fame?
That's good. That's good. That's good.
I would just say, I got to go into the long-term plan. Like we talked about, you just said 15 minutes. Like, we got to think longer term than 15 minutes. We got to think, what do we want for ourselves in the long term? Thinking of it as a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old, I was always looking out, further out than the now. And I don't really know how to to spur that, ignite that vision, other than to say, you know, you can't think about the now. You really got to be thinking long term. You know, what kind of legacy do you want to leave for your family? You know, your kids. You know, thinking, is it too much to ask to not be selfish, right? And think about your kids and your family as a teenager or a young person. I mean, can you say that? You know, how can you get young people to think outside themselves, right? And think about their future and their legacy. What do you want to be known for? You know?
And I think that there's an attention deficit among some young African American girls. And you know, when I was growing up, they called it dropping it like it's hot. Now it's twerking. You know, every generation has their thing. But in my generation, we didn't have cell phones. So it wasn't broadcast to the world. And so sometimes I'm concerned when I see people enjoying that 15 minutes of fame and not thinking that I have to live in that image of me online can go on and on and on and on. And here's an example. I knew a young lady, graduated from Spelman, and you know, she was somewhat attention deficit. So she was posting selfies of herself in lingerie. But I asked her, what's your long-term goal after Spelman? Oh, I want to go to law school. I said, no, you don't. Not with those pictures out there. You need to pull those down and get some pictures of yourself in front of a bookshelf.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go to law school? Because that momentary stuff, these pieces of instant gratification that we receive, we feel some kind of way because we get those thumbs up and those likes and the little hearts. That's not going to work for you when you're sitting in front of a committee and they start looking at the past. And so there's, you know, they used to say all attention or all advertising is good advertising. You're in advertising and marketing. Please tell us why that is not true.
Yeah, and it's ultimately your brand. You know, what is your brand? You know, there could be a one word for your brand or several words, and thinking about brand equity versus brand baggage.
Thank you, sister. I'm going to stop and take that down. Yes, that's
right.
deep.
Me too.
Brand baggage.
Brand equity versus brand baggage. My goodness.
Right. That sounds like a whole sermon.
Right. That'll preach.
That's all I get for the night. I'm good.
Yeah.
Somebody go play the organ, please. Praise God.
But before you do, take up the offering, because that was offering word.
Right. Goodness.
Brand baggage. What is brand baggage?
Whew.
Yeah, because you carry it with you. You know, it's not gonna just be there and disappear. It's gonna be there. And when you think about your next opportunity after 5 years, you know, you come to yourself and you still have that brand baggage sitting there online. And you know, so it's clear.
That is powerful. And I think you know, they say image is nothing. Obey your thirst. And that was really cute. Image is a lot. Image is a lot. So how do we put our best foot forward? Marketing, whether it's in business, whether it's in our communities, in our families. Speak to women who look like us, who are now beginning to taste the rainbow. I mean it. We are finally beginning to taste the rainbow. Listen, our grandmothers worked for it and they didn't get it. Our mothers got a piece of it, but was still some of that, you know, stuff attached to it. And now we're beginning to emerge differently. But we need to know what to do with it so that we don't end up with just 15 minutes. How do we manage this? I think that's what I'm asking.
How do you say that again? How do you manage?
How do we best manage this visibility, especially if we have businesses? My Black has a purpose. One of the things I've been speaking with Takara about as we're setting up her nonprofit organization from the ground up, and that's what I do. I help develop nonprofits. You don't want the steam to run out. You want to remain visible, but you don't want to just be there doing something for the sake of just being out there. You want it to be meaningful. And I think these discussions she's having with African American men and women is an important step. How do you stay viable when the election is over? And they had a lot to do with that push. But there are so many things going on in our community. How do they attach to the right thing or know, you know what, we shouldn't touch that or we should touch this? How do you maintain relevance without, overkilling it or wasting a moment?
I got to take you back to the plan. I got to take you back to the plan, because if you have your plan, you set your goals and you're measuring it, then you're going to be achieving what you set out to measure. So then when you think about those goals, what were the goals? And not to be too technical, but you guys know the SMART goals?
SMART, I've heard of it, yes.
Specific, measurable, action oriented.
Yes.
Right? So setting that plan needs to have SMART goals. So when you developed this mission, you had a plan, you wanted to accomplish something. What were those things? Were they specific? Were they time bound? Are they measure? Are you able to measure? I want to reach 500 African American men by 2000, and you know what I'm saying? Like, what was that specific goal? And revisiting that goal and saying, well, maybe, things have changed. I might adjust it. Maybe I want to do workshops for small groups, So when you're successful, if you set your objectives, and it's called KPIs, key performance indicators. Like you set your objectives and you're measuring against those, and you can look, and it's a hard goal. You can look at it, it's a deliverable, it's real. You can say, I achieved this, and you're successful. Really, do you need the world to tell you you're successful? You have your vision, and you have your plan, and you measure and work your plan and revisit those goals. And that's going to tell you whether you're successful. You don't need, like you said, the thumbs up and the likes to tell you successful. Were you able to reach the people that you set out to reach, right? With your goals. So that's what I would say. I would say, go work your plan.
Work your plan.
And the big thing that I see a lot is know what you're good at and know what you're not good at. Be okay with not being all things to all people, because scope creep is huge.
Right.
You start, you go down, and you're, I can do this, and then I can do this, and then you just watered everything down. Like hone in closely to what you want to do. Mm-hmm. You just get watered down, and you're all too many places, trying to do too much. So I would focus, work your plan, set your goals, not in that order.
So clearly, to wrap it all up, I would love, because you are flexible, and when somebody taps on your shoulder, you tend to switch. What do you think long term for yourself? Because you have a plan. You can't tell us you don't, because we know you got it written down. Your mom and dad knew you had it written down. Where are you in 10 years?
Oh my gosh.
Because you have a plan.
In 10
years. I need to know, because I'm coming with you, honey.
I am on the beach somewhere, working from the beach.
Yes, I like that already.
Working from the beach.
Right. Yes. I have enjoyed this thoroughly.
Ditto, yes. I have too.
Yes. And we appreciate the wealth of knowledge you bring to this. I would call it the My Black Has a Purpose experiment, because we are talking with people from so many different backgrounds. Just a few days ago, we spoke with a gentleman who wrote a book called Trap Music, and we discussed the intricacies in our community and the influences of the music, and even the topography of Atlanta and how that contributed to people getting into it. And it was a very interesting conversation. And then tonight, we've shifted into a corporate level marketing schematic that makes all of us go back to the drawing board to assess, where am I? If you, number one, if you don't have a plan, you need to make a plan.
Right.
If you have a plan, be willing and be flexible if things don't go according to plan. And when you don't know where you are, go back to the plan. Right. I once heard someone say, fail to plan, then you should plan to fail. So the plan is a critical aspect of moving forward. And as I like to say, you cannot go forward and backwards at the same time.
That's right.
Not if you're walking, you're running, or anything in life. So I appreciate this step forward, Miss Donna Dickerson. Columbus, Georgia is proud of you. We are proud of you. We respect your time. And we just appreciate you coming on, checking in on us again on our journey. We are all learning from this journey, and we're pushing toward the mark of the prize of the high calling, always knowing that he has a plan for us. He said, I know the plans I have for you. Your cornerstone, good plans to bring you to an expected end. So we appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight to My Black Has a Purpose with Miss Dickerson. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Listen, thank you, Natasha, for moderating this. I said I was going to be quiet. See, I wasn't silly at all, Takara. Are you proud of me? God is good. Ms. Dickerson, thank you so much for your time. It's valuable. Listen, there a lot of comments. Lisa Doja Robertson says, great, powerful information. Janice Hamilton, great information. Kendall Williams, loving this conversation, very powerful. Natasha Lawrence, thank you for these beautifully sound marketing tidbits, Miss Dickerson. Sheila Green has been shouting you out the whole evening. So we've been placing them up there. She said, thank you ladies so much for this. Glad I tuned in. So listen, thank you so much. This region, we appreciate you. And like Natasha stated, we hope this is just an entrance, to a relationship and future partnership with not just you, but, everything that you represent.
Right.
Because we're here to build purpose power, and we can do it better with, great minds all at the same table working towards that plan. Right? KPIs.
You are on it. Great work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Good night, ladies, and stay safe.
Yes. Thank you, Tasha.
Please stay safe.
You're welcome. It was
Thank everyone for tuning in. We love you. And remember that your Black has a purpose.
Yes.